All right, welcome back. Today we're breaking down Us. Us is about the societal inequality in America, how some are born underprivileged and have to fight for the bare minimum, while others have everything they need handed to them in abundance. It's two sides of the same coin. Some are just lucky enough to be born on the privileged side. This movie also exposes how we're really good at collectively ignoring how the comforts of the privileged are built upon the suffering of the oppressed lower class. Let's start with the title. While the term us sounds like it might be inviting or all inclusive, by default, it creates a them. Anyway, there's a lot to get into, so let's get started. We're running through this thing from beginning to end, breaking it all down. Let's dive into it. The movie begins mentioning how there are thousands of miles of abandoned underground tunnels underneath the United States, and most have no known purpose. Then it opens on a TV, where we see Channel 11 News on at 11. 11 at 11. There's The Goonies, a movie about a group of kids traveling underground. Chud, about monsters living underground feeding on humans that the government's trying to cover up. And Nightmare on Elm Street, which is about Freddy Krueger trying to kill kids in their dreams, which in turn kills them in reality, or a mirrored version of themselves. Also, there's going to be a ton of symbolism throughout the movie with the number 11 and mirror images. And I'm not going to drive you crazy by mentioning it every time, so I'll find a way to show it on screen. While we're on it, let's talk about the number 11 and why it plays so well into this movie. It's a reference to the Bible verse Jeremiah 11:11, which we'll touch on here in a second. 11 is also a palindrome, meaning it's the same backwards and forwards, like race car or taco cat. You could also say it's a reflection of itself, similar to how the Tethered are reflections of their above-ground counterparts. Then you take it all to another level when you turn 11 into 1111. I would tell you to take a shot every time I say 11, but I don't need that blood on my hands, so don't do that. Then we see a commercial for Hands Across America, where 6 million people tether themselves together to somehow fight hunger and homelessness in the United States. And Hands Across America represents the duality of the United States. On one side, it's a beautiful thing for 6 million people to get together to support one cause. And it did end up solving the world's hunger and homelessness problem as advertised. Wait, what? What do you mean they didn't solve world hunger? They held hands, right? All of them? What's that? This was a real thing that actually happened in 1986 and they raised $32 million, but 17 million of it, aka over half the donations, went to quote bills and administration fees, meaning they spent more money putting this thing on than they actually raised? Wow. And people are still homeless and hungry? Who would have thought? This big grand gesture looked great on the surface, but underneath it kind of feels like a money grab, which could also be a metaphor for America and the American dream. The title is US like I mentioned, Us, US, United States. And when Gabe asks Red who they are, she says, "We're Americans." Then that commercial is followed by an old Santa Cruz Beach boardwalk commercial, which takes us to the boardwalk in 1986. They really filmed on the actual boardwalk in Santa Cruz. They chose it as a shout out to the Lost Boys, which also stars 2 kids named Corey. They also reference it when Abby's mom says they're filming something over by the carousel. And while The Lost Boys came out in 87, this is 1986, when it would have been filmed. This is where we meet a young Adelaide and her parents, Rain and Russell. Her dad wins her a prize and she picks number 11, a Michael Jackson Thriller shirt, a music video about having a dark side to yourself, where he's also dressed in red and wearing one glove. Now I know in the movie they have it on their right hand, but I'm left-handed, so. Russell then chooses to play whack-a-mole, a game that's ironically about trying to stop things from coming up from underground. The guy working the game is also wearing a Black Flag shirt, and this is Black Flag's logo, 1111. Rain goes to the bathroom and Russell watches Adelaide as he continues to play. Adelaide wanders away and we see a homeless guy holding a sign that says Jeremiah 11:11, which is where the 11:11 theme comes from. Side note, 11:11 also means as above, so below. Anyway, Jeremiah 11:11 says, "Therefore thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will bring evil upon them, which they shall not be able to escape. And though they shall cry unto me, I will not hearken unto them." And this pretty much sums up Red's mission to destroy everyone on the surface for creating and forcing them to live the way they do. Now, as we see here, Red's got some deep-rooted issues. And if she chose to talk to somebody instead of start an uprising to destroy everyone, she would have had a much more positive outlook on life and a happier ending to her story. In her defense, she tried. But she wasn't able to find a mental health doctor with any openings. She'd have to wait weeks to make an appointment. However, if someone told her about ZocDoc, the sponsor of today's video, she could have used their free service to find a top-rated doctor in her area that not only accepted her insurance, but could quickly book her an appointment, usually within 24 to 72 hours, but sometimes even the same day. Now, I can't go back and tell Red about ZocDoc, but I'm here to tell you about it right now so you don't make the same mistakes she did. ZocDoc is a free website that helps you find and book high-quality, in-network doctors. With more than 150,000 healthcare providers across all 50 states, you have plenty of options to choose from. So let's stop putting off those doctor's appointments and prioritize our health. Check out ZocDoc.com/Cheatham Media to find and book a top-rated doctor near you for free today. That's ZocDoc.com/Cheatham Media. Thanks so much to ZocDoc for sponsoring this video and helping us all take better care of our health. Now let's get back to the video. Then we see a couple playing rock, paper, scissors, and they mirror each other by both throwing scissors. Scissors representing the Tethered's weapon of choice, and also represents them cutting free from their mirror image. Speaking of mirror image, the scissors look like two people standing back to back. Also speaking of mirror image, this movie was inspired by the Twilight Zone episode, Mirror Image, which is about a young woman and her evil doppelganger. Video on that coming up next. Jordan Peele says he bases his movies off of his own fears, and the idea of facing an evil version of himself terrified him. Instead of the monster being some outside entity, it's a version of yourself. Also, if you hold up two pairs of finger scissors, you get 1111. Yeah, I know. It's gonna get a little crazy. Adelaide wanders onto the beach and finds a funhouse that ironically says, "Find yourself inside." As she enters, it begins to rain, which often signifies a transformation. And inside, the funhouse narrator is none other than Jordan Peele himself. A few moments later, all the power inside shuts off, and Adelaide heads towards an exit sign, but she's surrounded by mirrors and can't find her way out. She begins to whistle the Itsy Bitsy Spider, remember that, but stops when she hears another person whistling who is completely off rhythm. Also remember that. She backs up to what she thinks is a mirror, but when she turns around, her reflection doesn't move. The opening credits roll on a wall of caged rabbits in horizontal rows of, you guessed it, 11. And if you notice, there's only one black rabbit, representing Red, the one outlier who's different than the rest of them. Then we fast forward 33 years to 2019, pre-COVID, if they only knew. This is where we rejoin Adelaide, who's now married to Gabe with two kids, Zora and Jason. Adelaide is played by Lupita Nyong'o. Think I said that right? If not, I apologize. Who I can't wait to see in the upcoming movie The Odyssey. And Gabe is played by Winston Duke, best known for playing M'Baku in Black Panther. Now this family follows a specific archetype. Adelaide's the leader, Zora's the warrior, Gabe is the fool, and Jason's the wizard. And Jason is the most interesting to me, because he can see through the smoke and mirrors that fools everybody else. It seems like he's always one step ahead of the rest of the family. They arrive at their vacation home, which was Adelaide's childhood home. Notice Zora's rabbit shirt, a reference to the rabbits in the beginning, and she also wears a shirt later that says Tho, which is Vietnamese for rabbit. She's also a runner, so it could be a reference to Run Rabbit Run from Get Out. Who knows? Zora complains about the Wi-Fi not working before they even get inside, but Gabe says you don't need the internet.
You got the outer net.
Gabe tells everyone they're going to the beach later to meet their friends the Tylers, and Addie's annoyed to hear they're going to Santa Cruz, where she had a bad experience as a kid. Then we get a flashback to what happened after the events at the boardwalk. Adelaide stopped talking, and while her parents and doctors think it's from PTSD after being lost, we know the truth is she's one of the tethered. They don't know how to speak, so she has to learn, which I could only assume her family later saw as her coming out of her shell. The doctor encourages them to find other ways for her to express herself, like dancing. This PTSD angle is so smart because it explains all the differences between Red and Adelaide. She doesn't speak and stares blankly at people like she's confused, because she is. It's not PTSD. Then we jump back to present day, where we see a real spider, symbolizing Red, crawling out from underneath a fake one, symbolizing Adelaide. Adelaide tells Gabe she doesn't want to go to the beach in Santa Cruz, but he convinces her to go as long as they leave before it gets dark. Addie goes downstairs looking for Jason, and we see her old dance room, as well as a box of things from her childhood. specifically a stuffed white rabbit and a picture of her dancing, which brings a smile to her face. And Jason isn't downstairs. He's hiding in a cabinet and jumps out from under the counter to scare his sister. The theme of things coming out from underneath other things is strong in this one. It's also worth pointing out, Jason running around with his mask on like this is why Pluto does that. The family hears a horn honking from the backyard and goes outside to find Gabe, aka
Crawdaddy!
bought a newish boat for them to use on the lake.
Have a seat!
However, the engine likes to shut off whenever it feels like it, so it's not the most reliable. On the way to the beach, Zora mentions there's fluoride in the water that the government's using to control our minds, but no one acknowledges her. She isn't too far off of the truth either. The government's definitely trying to control them, just not with the water. Or are they? And notice Jason's Jaws shirt, another one of Jordan Peele's favorite movies. It's about predators coming up from underneath to kill us. That's also centered around a dangerous beach. It all works so perfectly. They turn on the song I Got Five on It, which is a Bay Area anthem.
It's about drugs.
And they later remix it to create a dark, tethered version of it that is pretty dope too. Side note, the Bay Ballas remix of I Got Five on It goes so hard. Straight Bay Area legends. Adelaide tells Jason to get in rhythm with the song and tries to snap along, but she's so offbeat it's painful. A subtle hint at her being tethered and Jason being part tethered. Then we get another flashback to Addie as a kid, immediately after they found her on the beach in the rain. She's in the back seat of the car, panting and terrified. Not just because she got scared by a mirror, but because she's a tethered who just escaped and joined the real world. Back in the present day, they pass a dead guy on a stretcher being loaded into an ambulance, and it's the same guy with the Jeremiah 11:11 sign from 33 years ago. But this time it's written in blood, and he also has a giant 11:11 written in blood on his chest. Giant 11:11 walking on the beach, and notice how Adelaide is the only one out of line with the rest of them. Little hints. The funhouse is still on the beach and still says find yourself, but it's been rebranded to Merlin's Forest. Also, the music in this scene is so dope. Michael Abels did the score for this just like every other Jordan Peele movie. He kills it every time. This is where we meet the Tyler family. Josh, Kitty, and their twin daughters, Becca and Lindsay. Obviously, they're twins, but they're also mirror images of each other in the sense they're constantly saying the same thing at the same time, almost like a photocopy. Let's also point out a second Black Flag shirt, this time rocking their signature 11:11 logo. Josh is played by the hilarious Tim Heidecker, and Kitty's played by Elizabeth Moss, who made her film debut in the 1991 smash hit Suburban Commando. Gabe tells Josh he finally got a boat, and he congratulates him, but also gives him shit for forgetting to buy a flare gun, which comes into play later. Kitty tells Adelaide she just got a little bit of work done to her face, and remember that because it explains why the tethered version of her does what she does later. Now Kitty and Josh represent the achieved American dream of surplus, but they also show us that even the most successful people aren't happy. They got a huge boat, huge house, expensive car, Kitty's getting plastic surgery, and yet she's still here drinking herself dumb.
Gotta get my wife for medicine.
What do we say?
Because she's married to a man who cares more about work and expensive stuff than he does about her.
I hate you?
And I point this out because even though Gabe and Adelaide are doing great, they have a second vacation home and a boat of their own, it's still not enough when compared to Josh and Kitty. They want what Josh and Kitty have, but Josh and Kitty don't even want what Josh and Kitty have. They want more. The same way someone with less than Gabe and Adelaide would dream about having what they have. And I think that's the dark white underbelly of the American dream. You think you can achieve anything. You're told if you work hard enough that you can. But someone's always going to have more than you, so you end up wanting more because you want to keep up. Everyone pretends they're happy with what they got, but in reality they aren't. They want more. It's a perpetual cycle of consumerism driven by capitalism. The people on top keep making more money and buying better things, while everyone else struggles and tries to keep up with the Joneses. They planted that seed in us early. Kitty and Adelaide continue talking, and we learn that Adelaide spent a good portion of her life dancing. Then Kitty starts to talk, and Addie zones out. She notices two people carrying away a third, as well as a guy emerging from being buried in the sand, or underground. Then she's interrupted by a red frisbee landing directly on top of a blue circle on her blanket, covering it completely, almost as if the red is taking its place. Wink. Jason goes to the bathroom, and when he walks out, he notices a man standing with his arms extended. It's the same Jeremiah 11:11 guy, but it's the tethered version after he killed the real one, and he's soaking up the sun for the first time in his life, with blood still dripping from his fingers. You can see he's wearing a red jumpsuit under his jacket, and he's got the same fingerless tan gloves on his right hand. Addie notices Jason is missing and completely overreacts because she's scared of this beach, only for Jason to be walking up right behind her. That night at home, Gabe's watching the Giants game, which is ironically tied at 11-11. We also see Jason has a picture on his wall very similar to Hands Across America. Addie sits on Jason's bed to tell him goodnight, and he apologizes for scaring her. Then they do their secret handshake, before pointing out that it's 11:11. Also, check his lamp out. A jack-in-the-box jumps out from under something and scares you. It's everywhere. On her way out, Addie finds a picture that Jason drew, and it's a recreation of the scene with the Jeremiah 11:11 guy with a bloody, gloved hand.
Who's this?
Just some guy on the beach. Gabe gets in bed, hoping to entice his wife with his drop-dead sexiness.
Hey.
But Addie wants to leave. She says she feels like there's a black cloud on top of her. And when she stutters over her words, it sounds a little like Red when she talks.
Feels like.
She says she doesn't feel like herself. And in a fun play on words, Gabe says she looks like herself, which is true, but not the point. Because as we learn later, just because you look like you doesn't mean it is you. Addie comes clean and tells Gabe the truth about why she doesn't like the boardwalk, filling in the blanks with what happened to her inside the funhouse. She says she ran into a little girl that looked exactly like her, and it wasn't a reflection. She was real. And when she's saying this, we're seeing Addie as a reflection in the window. Like, come on, man, this is getting ridiculous. He's just showing off at this point. How can you be this detail-oriented and still produce such a good movie? Jordan Peele, you are a god amongst men, and I humbly ask to play any part in anything you do at any time ever. Shoot or shoot, baby. Addie says she ran out of the funhouse as fast as she could, but her entire life she felt like that little girl was still
Coming for me.
And ever since they got here, more coincidences have been lining up. She can't ignore it. Suddenly the lights turn off and they lose all power. They got a backup generator, but it's not working. That's when Jason comes in and tells them,
There's a family in our driveway.
and we see four shadowy figures that look exactly like the sticker on the back of their car, and the Hands Across America logo, and the paper cutout thing that Red makes later. Adelaide calls 911, but they say they won't be there for 15 minutes. Gabe gets a bat and goes out front with a sudden swagger in his step, telling the family to leave, but if they want to get crazy,
We can get crazy.
and the cops are already on their way.
On their way.
His voice drop is so funny. Then a weird clicking noise comes from the shadowy group. Two kids run in opposite directions. The large father figure begins walking towards Gabe, and he runs inside.
I will break your head.
Outside, we hear Red approaching. She begins to whistle the itsy bitsy spider and knows exactly where their hide-a-key rock is. Two very large hints at the fact that she is the real Adelaide. The Tethered family break into the house, and there's something I noticed here that I thought was pretty cool and worth pointing out. Throughout the entire movie, watch how Red walks. Anytime she makes a turn, it's a 90-degree turn like she's in the military. That's because she grew up in a tunnel system that is completely squared off with nothing but 90-degree angles. Pretty cool touch. The young masked kid lights a match and throws it into the fireplace. All four of the Wilsons are sitting directly across from their Tethered counterpart. Now let's talk about the Tethered. Their design was super important. They wanted a simple but iconic look. They chose red jumpsuits specifically so when they ran by at night you would see a flash of red. The jumpsuit was inspired by a combination of Michael Myers as well as Michael Jackson from the Thriller video. And while it's easy to point out that they could wear one glove because of Michael Jackson, it also represents one half of a pair. Like the Highlander, there can only be one. You could even overanalyze the scissors and say the finger holes are two people standing back to back, but at the bottom it's a singular cutting device, almost like you could use it to cut the other one away. I swear I can overanalyze anything. Try me. Now Red is the only one who can speak, so she named the other family members. Abraham represents Abraham Lincoln, who freed the slaves just like she's trying to free the Tethered. Umbrae is a plural derivative of the Latin term umbra, which translates to shadow, and Pluto is lord of the underworld. His face is scarred due to his love of fire. He moves around on all fours like an animal, and while Red is the only one who speaks, Pluto makes animalistic dog-type noises.
It's us.
Red begins to speak in her raspy-ass voice. Now, they indirectly tell you later on why her voice is like this, but in case you didn't pick up on it, it's because she was strangled as a kid inside the funhouse. The strangling damaged her vocal cords. Red tells a story and refers to Adelaide as the girl and herself as the shadow, explaining how her family came to be. They were basically forced upon her due to Adelaide's actions. They're called the Tethered because they're connected to the above-ground version of themselves. When Adelaide does something or something happens to her, the same thing happens to Red underground, but in a much more twisted version that she has no control over. Adelaide got to eat warm cooked food, while Red had to eat the raw rabbits we saw in the beginning. When she fell in love with Gabe, Red had Abraham forced upon her because he was Gabe's tethered. When she gave birth to Zora, Red gave birth to a laughing monster. Then when she had a C-section during Jason's birth, Red was forced to cut herself open and perform the procedure on herself. That's fucking twisted. I'm not going to question how she survived that, but due to all these things,
the shadow hated the girl.
How can you blame her? The only way she was able to deal with all this trauma was concluding that it had to be a test from God.
Excuse me.
Gabe starts to speak and tries to offer them whatever they want. The house, the car, the boat, money, because all that stuff's important to him. So clearly, that's what he thinks they want. But Abraham lets him know they aren't interested in any of that. Gabe adjusts his glasses, and this is the first time we see in real time what Red was explaining. Because Abraham mimics his motion and facial expression when he adjusts his glasses that aren't there.
What are you people?
Gabe asks what they are, and Red's answer says a lot.
We're Americans.
Which makes me circle back to the idea that they're the same as everybody else. They just happened to get the shit side of the coin when they were born. Now, they shot this scene over 2 days. All the main actors doing one family one day and the other family the next. That's a ton of work. This entire movie is, but the payoff is so worth it. This scene with all 8 of them is epic. Red tells Addie to tether herself to the table and sends the rest of her family to attack the real versions of themselves. Gabe has his glasses stolen by Abraham, gets knocked out, stuffed into what has to be a gigantic plastic bag, and wakes up on his own boat that Abraham is driving. Must be a big Dexter fan. The motor on the boat cuts off and Abraham goes back to look at it, which allows Gabe to escape and hit him with a bat, knocking him into the water and killing him with the boat propeller. Zora runs away from Umbre. She's an all-star runner, but because she is, so is Umbre. In fact, Umbre knows this and gives her a head start because she's faster. While Zora has spent her life running on all kinds of different surfaces, Umbre has been running on nothing but hard tile. That makes her legs stronger, more injury-proof, and in turn, faster. She ambushes Zora near a car, but Zora gets away when the car's owner comes out to yell at Umbre, which results in him getting stabbed to death with scissors. Pluto takes Jason with him to go play, and Red jokingly tells them not to burn their house down. And to be fair, she is the rightful heir. Jason takes Pluto into the self-locking closet that he got stuck in earlier and blocks the door with a toy ambulance, foreshadowing the ambulance they escape in at the end. In the closet, he learns that he can control Pluto's movements and gets him to pull off his mask, revealing a badly scarred lower face. Jason keeps trying to get his magic trick lighter to work, as he has for the entire movie so far. And Pluto begins to get angry that he can't light it, but then it sparks, which scares him away and gives Jason the opening to run out the door and close it behind him, locking Pluto inside, ironically, just like Jason was earlier. Red takes Addie's head and presses it against the glass coffee table, producing a mirror image. She says they've been waiting for this day to come. And as she says this, the glass on the table breaks, destroying the reflection, which is an awesome representation of the untethering she just mentioned. God damn it, Jordan Peele, you're so good. Pluto begins to scream after being locked inside the closet.
That's yours.
Red leaves to go let him out, which gives Addie a chance to grab a fireplace tool, which she uses to break the table so she can escape. Red goes downstairs looking for Jason and finds Addie's stuffed white rabbit, which she quickly cuts the head off. Little nod to Alice in Wonderland. This scene has a few meanings behind it. First of all, I can't go the entire movie without saying that rabbit ears look like scissors and the number 11. But her cutting the head off symbolizes what they've had to do to survive as the Tethered. It also shows that their scissors serve more of a purpose than just a stabbing tool. It's how they feed themselves. And lastly, it could also represent the anger she harbors towards the childhood that was taken away from her. Red finds Jason and they run outside as Zora returns from her nighttime run. They hear the horn from the boat honking, run around to the back of the house, and down to the dock where Gabe picks them up and they escape to safety. Meanwhile, at the Tyler household, Josh is passed out drunk in a chair. Suddenly their power gets shut off, but unlike Gabe's backup generator, theirs turns on immediately and works great because it's obviously better and cost more. Kitty says she heard something outside, but Josh blows her off saying he's busy, because she's not that important to him. The girls come down asking what's going on, and this is where we get a scene dubbed the 7-Second Massacre. And it's so dope they found a house designed like this so they could orchestrate a wide shot showing the entire thing happen in real time. Which is scary something as crazy as this could take place in as short as 7 seconds. A whole family, massacred. No cuts makes it feel so raw and real. That's why I like long shots so much. It really brings you into the scene. Then it cuts right back to the angle we just saw and recreates the shot of Josh looking up at his daughters, but this time they've all been replaced with the Tethered. And this creepy ass look where both twins are looking out the top of their eyes with their heads down was improvised by them. Jordan saw it, said it freaked him out, and told him to keep doing it. So they did. However, Kitty isn't dead yet. Whether it's the wild cocktail of alcohol and pills she's definitely on that's keeping her alive, or she's so used to being cut open by choice that stab wounds don't affect her as much. Either way, playing dead would have been a much better option. Kitty crawls toward tethered Josh, and he reaches down to help her, only to fake her out with a too slow handshake, which is a really twisted way of mirroring Josh's real-world humor. She tells her Ophelia device to call the police, but it hears "fuck the police" and plays the NWA song instead. But it doesn't start at the beginning of the song. It strategically starts when Ice Cube says "fuck the police" coming straight out the underground, a clear nod to the Tethered coming up from underground. The Wilsons arrive at the Tyler's house and Addie bangs on the front door. Tethered Josh, or Tex as he's known now, answers and gives her a look like, "Hey, it's us." And Addie smashes the fireplace tool into his head. But it doesn't affect him. She's yanked inside by the rest of the Tethered family, who now go by Dahlia, Lo, and Nix. Josh approaches Gabe and he tells the kids to run, leading Josh away from the house. He makes his way down to the dock, where we see Josh's boat, and it's much nicer than his. It's also named the Biatch. Tex follows him on, and Gabe shoots him with Josh's flare gun, a fun callback to Josh teasing him about not having one. Zora and Jason go into the house, and "fuck the police" is still playing. Ironically, exactly at the part where Ice Cube says it's going to be a bloodbath. Also, "fuck the police" could be referring to the fact that Addie called the police, they said they'd be there in 15 minutes, and never showed up. I see you, Mr. Peele. Zora picks up a golf club as a weapon, and they find dead Kitty and Josh on the floor in the kitchen. They hear Addie scream from upstairs, and being the warrior she is, Zora's ready to go up there. Jason looks around for a weapon and grabs a mounted rock, which he then holds against his body the same way the Tethered hold their scissors. Interesting. They head upstairs and one of the Tethered twins cartwheels down the hallway, just like the real one was at the beach earlier. Then she cartwheels directly in front of Zora, who mollywops her in the head with a golf club. Then she beats the hell out of the other twin. Like, brutally. She hit her sister once. Want to guess how many times she hit this girl? I'll give you one guess. 11. Meanwhile, Dahlia's in the bathroom putting on real makeup for the first time, mimicking the shallow happiness that it brought out in Kitty. She goes over to Addie on the ground and holds the scissors to her face like she wants to kill her, but she can't. Or maybe she's not allowed to. Her hands literally shaking as she backs away from her, because Red most likely told her not to hurt Addie. And Dahlia deals with her frustrations the same way Kitty did. Self-mutilation to make yourself feel better. She's got a huge smile on her face as she cuts herself. And based on what we know from Red's story about childbirth, anytime Kitty got plastic surgery, Dahlia would have been forced to do it to herself. That being said, I think it would have been really dope to have her face covered in scars from her self-inflicted surgeries. That would have been creepy as hell, and this moment would have been even scarier because you would have seen what it was from. But then again, maybe that's too obvious. Sometimes less is more. And who the fuck am I to be questioning anything Jordan Peele does? I apologize, I know my place. Dahlia notices a light outside and watches as Tex is burned alive on his boat. She begins to cry, but then it turns into a smile, because at the beach earlier,
I hate you. Think about murdering him sometimes.
So somewhere inside of Dahlia, She enjoys this. Zora creeps up from behind and tries to hit her with a golf club, but Kitty stops her. She's about to stab Zora in front of Addie, but Jason comes in from behind her and blasts her in the head with that rock.
I am done with boats.
Addie tries to call 911 again, and this time she can't even get through. All the lines are busy.
It's too many twins, man.
4 copies of the same girl is a lot. They turn on the news to hear reports of people coming out from the sewers wearing red jumpsuits and stabbing people with scissors, then forming a human chain and holding hands, just like Hands Across America. But they don't mention the fact that it's people's doppelgangers that are killing them. They don't know that part yet. Then when they cut back and we see one of the Tethered twins is laying dead in the coffee table, I audibly laugh every time. It's such a good sudden reveal. Addie says she wants to flee to Mexico, but Gabe says they should stay here. They got everything they need. Josh has all the fancy stuff Gabe has always dreamed of having. He doesn't want to go anywhere.
They know where we are.
He suggests they set up some Home Alone style booby traps, but Addie says throwing micro machines on the floor isn't going to do anything. Then in the 2 most disrespectful lines of the entire movie, the kids ask what micro machines are, and
What's Home Alone?
I'll tell you what I'm not going to do right now. I am not going to get age shamed by a movie that was written by a man that's 6 years older than me. Nope. Not today. Addie takes control, becoming the true leader that she is, and tells Gabe he's not making the decisions anymore. They all go out front to leave, but she forgot the car keys. Addie goes back in, and all of a sudden the coffee table twins' bodies are gone. She runs for the key fob, gets attacked by the twin. Jason comes inside to check on his mom, just in time to see her stabbing the girl in the head with scissors, revealing a dark side of his mom that he didn't know was there. They run outside to find Zora in the driver's seat,
I'm driving.
refusing to let anyone else drive. And in her defense, she makes a solid argument. Gabe's leg is messed up and Addie's handcuffed. On top of that,
I have the highest kill count in the family.
she thinks she killed both twins, but Addie lets her know she just killed the second one.
I killed Kitty.
Fuck yeah, you did, Jason. Fuck yeah, you did. But in the end, Gabe wins. He killed 2.
I killed myself and Josh, so.
Zora starts the car, and Umbre appears in the street. Gabe tells her to back up, but Zora's a warrior princess like Xena, and she smashes on the gas directly at Umbre. But that little girl's quick. She runs up the front of the car and hangs onto the top by stabbing her scissors through the glass sunroof. Zora speeds up even faster and slams on the brakes, which sends Umbre flying into the bushes. Addie gets out to confirm the kill, only to find Umbre hanging upside down, impaled on a tree branch. She just hangs there, gurgling blood and struggling to breathe. I thought for a second Addie might do something to put her out of her misery, but she doesn't. She just stands there and watches as she dies, which is pretty fucking dark when she looks exactly like your daughter. The sun comes up as they drive through the streets of Santa Cruz, and there's bloody dead bodies everywhere. And I really love this moment in the back when Zora fist bumps her brother. They have been through some shit over the last 8 hours or so. They both got bodies under their belts now. Hell, Zora even has 2. And as crazy as this is going to sound, they're going to have an extremely close, unbreakable bond for the rest of their lives because of this. Now, you would never wish tragedy or trauma like this on anybody, let alone a child. But the person who comes out the other end of this is going to be so resilient. I mean, I'd feel absolutely unstoppable if I made it through something like this, let alone your entire family making it. How do you not feel invincible? Oh, I don't know if that's the right reaction or not, but if we're in the trust tree and I can be honest, I think that's how I'd feel. They head back home and turn onto their street to see their car parked in the middle, completely engulfed in flames. Addie throws it in reverse, and Pluto appears in front of him, snapping his fingers off beat. Addie grabs the fireplace tool and walks towards Pluto, who takes his mask off to reveal his scars to Addie. Then he leans over and smiles at Jason, who immediately senses that it's a trap and tells everyone to get out of the car. There's a trail of gasoline running all the way to the truck. Pluto punctured their gas tank when they initially stopped, so when they backed up, it created that trail. Pluto pulls out a match, but before he can light it, Jason spreads his arms and begins walking backwards, causing Pluto to do the same thing. Jason continues walking backwards until Pluto walks directly into the fire of the burning car, and once he's completely engulfed, Jason just stands there and watches him burn. He's got that little bit of Tethered in him from his mom. And this shot right here is dope as fuck, because if you look closely, you can see Red standing there the entire time. She blends in perfectly. The line on her neck where the jumpsuit ends lines up perfectly with the tinted window. It's insane how they were able to match that so well. Red emerges from the shadows, grabs Jason, and runs towards the boardwalk. Addie gives chase, and when she arrives at the boardwalk, there's bodies everywhere. She walks down to the beach to see a long line of Tethered, holding hands, all the way to the ocean's edge, including the smiling Jeremiah 1111 guy who's been standing on that beach for the last 24 hours or so. He now has 1111 carved into his forehead too. That man is dedicated. Now you might be asking yourself, why are the Tethered recreating Hands Across America from 1986? Well, if you remember from the very beginning, it was one of the last things that Adelaide saw on TV before her parents took her to the boardwalk, and she was wearing a Hands Across America shirt before her dad wanted the Thriller one. It was heavily advertised as a way to create change, so when Red wants to push for change within the Tethered, she thinks having them all hold hands above ground will somehow accomplish something. That's what they did when she was a kid, and similar to Hands Across America, doesn't really accomplish anything. Addie makes her way into the funhouse, she finds a hidden door, and a rabbit runs out when she opens it. She makes her way underneath the boardwalk, and it's huge down here. She opens a door revealing a long escalator leading even further underground, and she gets on without thinking twice. And this is such a dope shot. The lighting looks so good reflecting up the escalator behind her. She reaches the bottom to find a long tiled corridor, full of rabbits running around. In fact, the new Backrooms movie damn near mimicked this exact shot. Addie makes her way down the corridor and confirms it's the same place we saw in the beginning when we see all the open rabbit cages. Addie finds Red inside an empty classroom. She's drawn stick figures holding hands across the chalkboard, and Red tells her about the origins of this place. The government built it. They figured out how to clone the human body, but they couldn't clone the human mind, which is why the Tethered are connected to their human counterparts, and Addie's actions affected Red. The government created the Tethered, trying to control the population above ground with the Tethered underground.
Like puppets.
But it didn't work. It actually worked backwards. The people on top controlled the people on bottom. So they decided to cut their losses and abandoned all the Tethered in the thousands of miles of unused underground tunnels. They left them a bunch of rabbits to eat because they reproduced so quickly they'd never run out of food. And after decades of no direction, they eventually went crazy. But then
there was us.
Flashback to the night Addie and Red switched places. We see the Tethered underground mimicking everything we saw above ground in the beginning of the movie. Now what do I even call this girl? I'm just going to call her Young Red. I know it's not accurate, but it makes enough sense for you to follow me. She's clearly different. She can see the madness within the Tethered, and she isn't going through the same thing. She actually has life in her eyes. She's not jerking around with a blank stare on her face. Just like Red said, they were special from the beginning. Seeing the people above ground eating regular food while the Tethered were forced to feed each other raw rabbits is one of the most chilling scenes in the entire movie. It really puts into perspective how crazy it is that they were forced to live like this. Young Red walks past the Jeremiah 1111 Tethered, as well as the rock paper scissors couple from the beginning. The same time young Addie made her way down to the beach, young Red made her way up that escalator. She walked out of the hidden door into the funhouse the same time that Addie walked in. The timing was so perfect, how could it not be a gift from God? Adult Red is angry that young Addie didn't take her with her. They both could have stayed above ground. She didn't have to force her down there. But after being stuck down there for a few years, a miracle happened. Young Addie got into dancing, and when she performed a recital above ground, Red did the same underground, and the Tethered saw that she was different. She had rhythm and body control. Now it's interesting to me that out of all the ways they could have shown she was different, they picked dancing. Dancing is a skill that many people can do, but few can do great. That takes real talent. Now let's go back to the comparison of the Tethered being the oppressed lower class. A lot of the time, the only way someone is able to break free of that and join the privileged class is through a skill or talent like music or sports, something that everybody can do, but few can do great. And while the chances are slim, it does happen, which is why I think it ties in so well with the theme of the movie. Cool note about this dance, it's known as a pas de deux, which is a dance meant for two people, but Addie did it alone. Or did she? Because Red was unknowingly dancing with her underground, so it was really two people dancing. The Tethered began to follow Red. She was their leader that would deliver them from their misery. It took years for her to plan the untethering, and she knew she had to make a statement, which is why she chose Hands Across America. She lifts up the cutout she made, of 4 connected red people. mimicking the sticker on the back of their car before trimming it down to 2, and indirectly thanking Addie for allowing her to dance. Ironically, they both used the dance to help them get over the traumatic experience of them switching places. And while Addie could technically be seen as the bad guy, no kid deserves to be eating raw rabbits, whether they have a soul or not. Red grabs her scissors and begins to circle Addie, as a dark, almost chopped and screwed version of I Got 5 on It comes on, and it sounds dope as fuck. Red dances through the classroom, before rushing towards Addie and stabbing her in the hand. She grabs Addie and begins whispering to her, but we can't make out what she's saying. Then she pushes her to the ground and runs out of the room. They continue to fight, and it's interspliced with shots of them dancing from when they were kids, metaphorically performing the dance correctly, now with 2 people. Adelaide gets stabbed in the stomach by Red's scissors, and when she tries to go in for the kill, Addie stabs her in the stomach with the fireplace poker. Red drops the scissors, and Addie's sadistic ass pushes the poker deeper into her as she falls to the floor. Red begins to choke on her own blood, but she's able to start whistling, on tune, showing us who the real human actually is. Addie can't take any chances at this point, so rather than risk Red somehow surviving, she wraps her handcuffs around her throat and breaks her neck for her 3rd confirmed kill. Now, I initially thought her laughing was her realizing that she's the tethered one and just kept her secret safe. But after a little more thought, I think this is just her tethered side slipping and showing itself, similar to when she killed the second twin. Addie uses Red's key to unlock her cuffs and finds Jason hiding in one of the lockers. She pulls Jason out and he looks terrified. He just watched that whole thing go down. She hugs him, but he refuses to hug her. Jason's frozen in fear.
They can't hurt you.
She says that everything's gonna be like it was before, and puts her hand up for them to do the same handhold thing they did earlier, but Jason doesn't do it. She has to force him to hold her hand. They make their way back above ground, and I'm not sure how she made it up that backward escalator in this state, but we'll just ignore that. They find Gabe and Zora waiting for them in an ambulance, and they all drive off together. The tethered are still there holding hands, patiently waiting for the next set of directions from Red that are never gonna come. In the ambulance, everybody sits silent with their weapons. Gabe has his bat, Zora has her golf club, and Jason has his rock, plus a bunny he saved. Addie thinks back to her childhood and finally remembers exactly what happened that night in the funhouse. She grabbed Addie by the throat, choked her out, drug her down into the tunnels, and left her there handcuffed to the bed with the exact same set of handcuffs. And it was this strangling that damaged her vocal cords. That's why Red talks the way she does. She got the shit choked out of her. Young Addie woke up just in time to see young Red put on her shirt and leave, giving her an evil-ass smile as she walks out of the room to go steal her entire life. And she got away with it. She adapted so well she forgot where she came from and trauma blocked the entire thing out of her mind. Then right as she comes to this realization, she looks over to see Jason staring at her. He knows exactly who she is. He's the wizard of the group. He's been one step ahead the whole time. He knew when Pluto set the trap, and he knew his mom was a tethered before she did. And she knows he knows. These looks don't lie. Jason slowly lowers his mask as he continues to stare at her, symbolically agreeing to keep her secret because now he knows this makes him 50% tethered as well. They drive off into the distance with their ambulance numbered, you guessed it, 1111. We see cascading hills in the distance with the tethered holding hands all throughout the mountains. There's also a couple choppers in the distance, so there is hope for humanity. They can just chop all these fuckers down with a chain gun. Bada bing, bada boom, problem solved. Also, funny note here, the tethered took hands across America way more serious than the real life people did. In 1986, they didn't actually hold hands across the entire country. When the terrain got tough, they broke the chain and used like ribbons or some shit to connect it. But the tethered ain't playing that bullshit. They're out in the mountains holding hands for real, because they want to make change for real. Now let's not gloss over a really important point that I think a lot of people miss. Adelaide was a soulless clone, and somehow she was able to seamlessly slip into the world and live her life normally. Nobody noticed. I mean, sure, she didn't talk after the boardwalk incident, but there had to be other signs. The empty stares, the lack of emotion and empathy, actually eating cooked foods for the first time instead of raw rabbit meat, and maybe the most obvious of them all, the fact she's black with no rhythm. Now this could all circle back to the idea of the American dream and people pretending to be happy when they aren't. They pretend to be satisfied, but on the inside they're empty and they're trying to fill that void with more and more expensive stuff. On the surface they look one way, but on the inside they're empty. So I think this could also be pointing out how shallow we are. We're only able to see people for who they are on the surface, and that's why a soulless clone was able to slip into our society for 33 years. And if we want to go deeper, it could be a reflection of the United States as a whole. They mention all the miles of underground tunnels in the very beginning of the movie, and at first I didn't really think it was necessary. No one's ever going to watch it and be like, where'd those tunnels come from? So then why did someone as smart and detail-oriented as Jordan Peele decide to start his movie this way, if it doesn't have a deeper meaning? Well, I think it does. Now I've been harping on the idea of the American dream being a lie. Look one way on the surface, empty on the inside, blah blah blah. I've said it 10 times. But what if you expanded that comparison to a literal, physical, countrywide scale? If America has thousands of underground tunnels running underneath us, that would technically make America empty on the inside. Now I could be reaching, but that's what makes these videos fun. And there you have it. That's my breakdown of the movie Us. Let me know what you guys think, and if I missed anything, drop it in the comments. I really appreciate you guys being here and clicking on the video. If you enjoy content like this, consider joining my channel as a member. It only costs $1, and for that $1 you get early access to videos every week, input on future videos, and some cool behind the scenes stuff. That being said, thank you to all my channel members. If you made it this far in the video and haven't liked the video yet, please like the video, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I got a lot more coming. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.